the quiet strength that breaks all limits. Everything you see, everything you admire, is built by people who mastered the quiet strength you're ignoring. Talent fails, luck fades, noise distracts. Only the silent discipline within you, the relentless, invisible, unstoppable mental toughness can push you past limits you thought were unbreakable. Today you will stop chasing approval, stop wasting energy, and learn how quiet, consistent power wins every time. Listen carefully. This is not advice. This is your blueprint to dominate without announcing it. Chapter 1. Stop proving and start doing. You are wasting your life proving things to people who don't matter. Every second you spend explaining, justifying, or convincing someone is a second stolen from your future. That's the key. The truth is simple. You don't need their permission. You don't need their approval. You don't need their applause. Action speaks louder than words, louder than speeches, louder than social media posts. You have a choice. You can keep proving, or you can start doing. Look around you. How many people do you see who talk more than they act? They explain their plans, they justify their failures, they promise results, and yet nothing changes, nothing moves. They are busy showing the world they are working, while the real work, the actual doing, is happening quietly elsewhere. That quiet work is the difference between mediocrity and mastery. You have a choice. Take Elon Musk as an example. For years, Tesla and SpaceX were nothing but ideas on paper. People laughed, people doubted, people questioned him endlessly. And what did he do? He didn't respond with speeches. He didn't try to prove them wrong publicly. He worked, silently, relentlessly, one action, one prototype, one launch at a time. That's the key. Action is louder than words. Action is louder than words. Action is louder than words. You can do the same. Stop posting about what you are going to do. Stop explaining why you are different. Stop proving your worth to everyone around you. If you want results, focus on doing. Every day, consistently, relentlessly. Let me make this practical. You want to start doing? Start small, but start now. Identify one task that moves your life forward and do it before you check your phone. Do it before you scroll social media. Do it before you seek validation. It could be writing a paragraph, making a call, building a habit. Do it silently. Do it consistently. Do it better than yesterday. Repeat, repeat, repeat. That is how progress is made. Here's another example. Athletes. Look at elite runners, swimmers, fighters. No one sees the early mornings, the grueling training, the hours spent perfecting the basics. People only see the medal or the trophy. The lesson is clear. Success is quiet until it becomes undeniable. You don't need a crowd to validate your effort. You don't need someone to say you're good enough. You don't need their permission. You have a choice. Keep proving, keep justifying, or start doing. Stop waiting for recognition. Stop seeking applause. Stop asking for validation. Focus on what you can control. Focus on your action. Focus on your results. This principle applies to your career, your health, your relationships, and your mind. Stop explaining why you can't. Stop telling people your plans. Stop defending your dreams. Do, repeat, improve, silently. Every action counts. Every effort compounds. Every small win is a step closer to the life you want. Here's a simple exercise to anchor this principle. For 1 week, take one action each day that moves you toward your goal, and don't tell a single person about it. Don't post it, don't brag, don't explain. Just do it. By the end of the week, notice the difference. That difference is real. That difference is quiet strength. That difference is unstoppable momentum. Remember this mantra and repeat it to yourself. Action is louder than words. Action is louder than words. Action is louder than words. Say it until it's a part of your daily behavior. Say it until it drives your decisions. Say it until it becomes your identity. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval. You just need discipline. Concluding thought. Every moment you spend proving yourself is a moment wasted. Every word you speak in justification is a step away from results. Every explanation you give is a distraction from doing. Stop proving, start doing. Build momentum in silence. Compete with your own potential, not with someone else's judgment. You mastered the art of action over explanation. Now let's talk about the hidden price you pay when you seek approval.
Chapter 2: The Silent Cost of Seeking Validation. You are addicted to approval, and you don't even realize it. Every like, every compliment, every nod, every small recognition, you are chasing it. That's the key. Seeking validation steals your focus. It creates invisible chains. Every moment you spend wondering what others think, every second spent worrying about approval, costs you your potential. You have a choice. You can continue to live in the invisible prison of others' opinions, or you can break free and reclaim your energy, your focus, your life. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You don't need their applause. You don't need their judgment to move forward. Think about it. How much time do you waste explaining yourself, defending your choices, posting things just to be liked, replying to comments that don't matter? That energy is gone, gone forever. You can't get it back. And what does it give you in return? Temporary satisfaction, a fleeting smile, a hollow moment that disappears before it even arrives. Look at social media. Look at the people who scroll endlessly, posting, refreshing, reacting. They are obsessed with approval. Their happiness is controlled by the screen. Their self-worth is measured by numbers, likes, shares, comments, views. And yet, nothing changes, nothing improves, nothing grows. That's the silent cost of seeking validation. You have a choice. Stop seeking approval. Focus on results. Focus on action. Focus on improvement. Approval is optional. Results are mandatory. Repeat it. Approval is optional. Results are mandatory. Approval is optional. Results are mandatory. Say it until it drives your decisions. Say it until it becomes your identity. That's the key. Now let's bring this closer to reality. At work, people constantly look for recognition. They want to be liked by their boss. They want their colleagues to approve. They want their efforts to be noticed. And what happens? They work for others, not themselves. Their growth is limited. Their time is stolen. Their potential is wasted. You have a choice. Stop. Stop performing for approval. Start performing for results. You don't need validation. You don't need permission. You don't need anyone to tell you that you are good enough. You are already enough if you take action. You are already enough if you focus. You are already enough if you deliver results. Consider the people who truly succeed. The innovators, the leaders, the athletes, the entrepreneurs. They are not looking for validation. They are not posting for likes. They are not explaining their every step to anyone. They are doing the work that matters, silently, relentlessly, daily. That's the difference. That's the silent power of discipline over validation. You have a choice. You can live in the approval loop, or you can break free. Here's what you do. Every time you feel the urge to seek recognition, pause. Ask yourself, does this move me closer to my goal, or does it feed my ego? If it feeds your ego, stop. If it moves you closer to your goal, do it quietly. No applause, no announcement, no explanation, just results. Repeat, repeat, repeat. That's the path to quiet strength. Here's another exercise to internalize this. For the next 7 days, perform one meaningful action each day without telling anyone. No posts, no messages, no bragging. Just do it. At the end of the week, evaluate. How do you feel? More free? More focused? More powerful? That is the silent cost of seeking validation, and you avoided it. That's discipline. That's mental toughness. That's power. Remember this mantra: approval is optional, results are mandatory. Approval is optional, results are mandatory. Repeat it in the morning, repeat it before work, repeat it whenever you feel the pull of validation. Every time you follow this rule, you reclaim a piece of your life, a fragment of your energy, a spark of your potential. That's the key. It's not about being arrogant. It's not about ignoring others. It's not about being cold or unkind. It's about discipline. It's about focus. It's about mastering your attention. It's about refusing to hand over your power to anyone else. You have a choice. Choose discipline. Choose results. Choose freedom. That's the key. Concluding thought: every time you seek validation, you pay a hidden tax. Every time you chase approval, you slow your progress. Every time you explain yourself, you waste energy. Stop. Focus. Do the work that matters. Deliver results quietly. Build strength silently. You mastered the art of action over proving. Now let's dive deeper into your inner defenses and learn how to protect your mind from distraction.
Chapter 3. Build your inner fortress. Your mind is under attack every day, every hour, every second. Social media, emails, notifications, gossip, criticism, distractions, doubts, internal chatter, they all demand your attention. That's the key. Mental toughness begins with boundaries. You have a choice. You can let every thought, every interruption, every external influence control you, or you can build your fortress. You don't need their permission. You don't need everyone to like you. You don't need approval. What you need is control. Your fortress is your life. Build it, protect it. Strength lies inside. Repetition. Your fortress is your life. Build it, protect it. Strength lies inside. Say it, believe it, act on it. Every distraction you allow is a breach. Every compromise you make is a crack. Every thought you entertain without discipline is a weak wall in your mental stronghold. That's the silent cost of surrender. And you have a choice. Let's be clear. Building your inner fortress is not about isolation. It's not about being antisocial. It's about defense. It's about protecting what matters: your time, your energy, your attention, your focus, your growth. You cannot excel if you allow every outside voice to dictate your decisions. You cannot dominate if you surrender your mental territory. That's the key. Look at the most successful people in history. They have daily routines. They have habits designed to insulate them from distraction. Warren Buffett reads for hours every day, shielded from noise. Michael Jordan trained in isolation, focusing on the work that mattered. Elon Musk spends massive blocks of time in deep work, away from trivial interruptions. That is discipline. That is strategy. That is a fortress in action. You have a choice. You can let chaos control you, or you can control the chaos. That's the key. Protect your focus, protect your time, protect your energy, protect your mind. That is the foundation of mental toughness. That is the difference between surviving and thriving. That is the difference between average and unstoppable. Now, let's make this practical. Step 1. Define your boundaries. Decide what you will tolerate and what you will not. No meaningless notifications, no shallow conversations, no unproductive habits, no mental clutter. That's your first wall. Build it, strengthen it, enforce it. Repeat, your fortress is your life. Build it, protect it. Strength lies inside. Step 2. Create rituals that reinforce your boundaries. Morning routines, focused work blocks, periods of solitude, time for reflection, time for growth. Discipline your day so that distractions cannot penetrate your walls. Make it a habit, make it unbreakable, make it sacred. That's the key. Step 3. Defend your attention like a soldier defending a fortress. Every time you notice a distraction, pull yourself back. Every time you are tempted by something trivial, say no. Every time external chaos threatens to break your concentration, resist. Your mind is precious. Guard it. That's mental toughness in action. That's discipline manifest. That's strength invisible but undeniable. You have a choice. You can surrender to every interruption, or you can stand firm. You can allow other people's opinions, drama, and noise to weaken you, or you can protect your focus, your energy, and your results. You don't need their permission. You don't need validation. You don't need approval. You need boundaries. That's the key. Here's an exercise to build your fortress today. Choose one area of your life where you are losing focus. Identify 3 distractions that steal your attention. Cut them, silence them, remove them. Protect that time, protect that energy, protect that part of your life like it is sacred. That's the practice of the disciplined. That's the work of those who rise above. That's the key to unstoppable inner strength. Remember, your fortress is not built in a day. It is built through repetition, consistency, and defense. Every day you defend your mind, your time, and your energy, the walls grow stronger. Every day you resist chaos, the gates hold firm. Every day you discipline yourself, the towers rise higher. That is invisible strength. That is quiet power. That is unstoppable momentum. Repetition is your ally. Your fortress is your life. Build it, protect it. Strength lies inside. Repeat it aloud. Repeat it in your mind. Repeat it until it drives your behavior, until it guides every decision, until it becomes the foundation of your existence. That's the key. It's not about being perfect. It's not about removing all distraction forever. It's about building unbreakable walls where it matters most. It's about defending your core, your energy, your attention. It's about saying no when it counts. It's about keeping your inner world sacred while the outside world rages. You have a choice. Choose discipline, choose protection, choose strength. Look at your day. Where are your walls weak? Where is your focus compromised? Where is your energy wasted? That is where you begin. Build there, strengthen there, fortify there. Every time you do, your mind becomes unbreakable. Your habits become unstoppable. Your results become inevitable. That's the key. Concluding thought. You have learned that mental toughness begins with boundaries. You have seen that your attention, energy, and focus are your most valuable assets. You have practiced the idea of defending them. You mastered the art of building an inner fortress. Now, let's take this one step further. We've protected your mind, but what about your daily actions and momentum? How do you compound your small wins into unstoppable force? That's next.
Chapter 4. Small Wins Compounded Daily. Limits are not broken by leaps. They are broken by steps. Small, consistent, deliberate steps. That's the key. You have a choice. You can wait for the perfect moment. You can hope for inspiration. Or you can act today, even in small ways, and create unstoppable momentum. You don't need their permission. You don't need luck. You don't need talent. You need discipline. And discipline is built one step at a time. Think about it. Most people fail because they try to do too much at once. They chase a massive result. They wait for the big breakthrough. And when it doesn't come immediately, they quit. They call it bad luck. They call it a limitation. They blame circumstances. That's the flaw. It's not about talent. It's not about luck. It's about discipline. Daily, incremental action. Small wins compounded over time are unstoppable. Repeat after me. 1 step today beats 10 tomorrow. 1 step today beats 10 tomorrow. Say it. Believe it. Act on it. That's the key. Warren Buffett didn't get rich in a day. He didn't become one of the most successful investors by gambling on one massive bet. He invested incrementally, consistently over decades. Every small, disciplined investment added up. That's compounding. That's the power of daily wins. That's the key. You have a choice. You can chase shortcuts and instant results, or you can commit to consistent action, one measurable win at a time. The choice is yours. The results are inevitable if you embrace compounding. Athletes understand this principle better than anyone. They don't show up for a single practice and expect to win championships. They train daily, repetitively,
incrementally, one drill, one rep, one improvement at a time, over weeks, over months, over years. That's how greatness is built. That's how limits are shattered. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary. You have a choice. Will you start today? Will you take the first step? You don't need their permission. You only need discipline. Let's bring this principle closer to your life. Identify one area where you want to improve: fitness, wealth, skill, productivity, relationship. Now break it into the smallest possible action that moves you forward. That's your step. Do it today. Don't wait. Do it again tomorrow and the next day. Repeat, repeat, repeat. That is compounding. That is unstoppable growth. That is how limits fall silently, without noise, without permission, without recognition. Here's another crucial truth. Small wins build confidence. Every time you take a step and see progress, your mind becomes conditioned to act. Your body becomes accustomed to discipline. Your environment starts to reward effort. Confidence compounds like interest in a bank account. It grows silently, invisibly, but powerfully. That's the key. You have a choice. You can wait for motivation. You can wait for inspiration, or you can create your own momentum. Action generates energy. Action generates results. Action generates habits. Habits generate compounding outcomes. That's the formula. Repeat. 1 step today beats 10 tomorrow. 1 step today beats 10 tomorrow. Say it, believe it, act on it. That's the key.
Now, let's make this practical with a behavioral exercise. Choose one goal, write it down, then identify the smallest step you can take today. Don't overthink it, just take the step. Tomorrow, take another. The day after, take another. Don't stop. Don't wait for validation. Don't announce it. Let the results speak. That's the power of small wins compounded daily. That's the key to breaking limits quietly, invisibly, but undeniably. Consider a real-world example: learning a skill, programming, writing, music. You don't become a master overnight. You practice daily. 1 line of code, 1 page written, 1 scale repeated. Every day, you repeat, you improve, you compound. Eventually, you reach a level that once seemed impossible. That is the principle in action. That is discipline manifest. That is the quiet strength that breaks limits. You have a choice. There is a danger here. Many people dismiss small steps because they seem insignificant. They want massive progress immediately. They want dramatic results. That's impatience. That's short-sightedness. That's failure disguised as frustration. 1 step today beats 10 tomorrow. The principle is invisible but unstoppable. Consistency compounds. Discipline compounds. Action compounds. And results are inevitable. Repeat. 1 step today beats 10 tomorrow. 1 step today beats 10 tomorrow. Repeat it every morning. Repeat it every night. Repeat it whenever doubt creeps in. Repeat it whenever frustration appears. Repeat it until action becomes your default response. Repeat it until discipline becomes your identity. That is the key. Concluding thought. You've learned that massive results are built through small, consistent steps. You've seen how compounding daily wins creates unstoppable momentum. You've practiced taking action without waiting for permission, without seeking validation, without expecting applause. You mastered the art of incremental growth. Now it's time to embrace the invisible grind behind your success. We've created momentum. Now we must endure, persist, and keep moving when no one is watching.
Chapter 5. Embrace the invisible grind. You want success. You crave results. You dream of recognition. You imagine the applause. That's the trap. The truth is simple. Success is invisible until results speak. That's the key. You have a choice. You can chase applause, you can chase validation, or you can grind in silence. You don't need their permission. You don't need recognition. You don't need approval. You need discipline. You need focus. You need relentless effort. Grind quietly. Grind daily. Grind relentlessly. Repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it. That is the difference between those who succeed and those who only dream. Think about history's greats. They weren't recognized immediately. They weren't praised when they first started. They weren't cheered on every step of the way. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before the world noticed the light bulb. J.K. Rowling wrote in obscurity before anyone read her words. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school team. Elon Musk endured ridicule and doubt while building companies that now dominate the world. The grind was invisible, the results were delayed, and yet they persisted. That's the key. You have a choice. You can quit when no one is watching, you can give up when the applause is absent, or you can persist silently. That is where real power is built. That is where limits are broken. That is where quiet strength dominates. Here's the critical lesson. The world rarely sees effort. It only sees outcome. If you were waiting for recognition, you will wait forever. If you were performing for approval, you will never achieve mastery. The moment you understand this, you gain freedom, you gain clarity, you gain unstoppable momentum. Grind quietly, grind daily, grind relentlessly. That's the key. Now, let's make this practical. Identify one area where you want massive improvement. Fitness, career, skill, wealth, relationships. Now, commit to the work that no one sees. The early mornings, the late nights, the repetitive drills, the disciplined practice, the unseen hours. That is your grind. That is your power. That is how invisible effort compounds into undeniable results. Consider the athlete. The public sees the victory, the gold medal, the championship. They do not see the thousands of hours of training, the bruises, the early mornings, the sacrifices. They only see results. And yet those results are the product of relentless, invisible grind. You have a choice. Follow the crowd and seek visible recognition, or embrace the quiet grind that no one applauds. That's the key. Here's another example. Entrepreneurs and innovators. Steve Jobs worked for years perfecting products before the world applauded. Jeff Bezos delivered service improvements, iterated quietly, and ignored public scrutiny until Amazon dominated. The effort was invisible. The grind was relentless. That is the principle. That is discipline. That is quiet strength. Let's focus on repetition. Grind quietly. Grind daily. Grind relentlessly. Say it aloud. Say it in your mind. Let it guide your actions. The repetition becomes identity. Identity becomes habit. Habit becomes unstoppable results. That's the key. You have a choice. You can rely on talent alone, or you can commit to grinding when no one is watching. Discipline always beats raw talent. Discipline always beats temporary effort. Discipline always wins. Repeat, grind quietly, grind daily, grind relentlessly. Now, here's a behavioral exercise to embed this principle. For the next 7 days, select one task that advances your goal. Commit to doing it daily, silently, without announcement. No posts, no bragging, no seeking approval. Just do it. Track progress privately. At the end of the week, you will feel the power of invisible grind. You will see how small, silent actions compound into meaningful progress. That is the secret. That is the foundation of mastery. That is the key. Consider your mindset. Many people quit because the grind feels invisible. They want instant gratification. They want validation now. They want applause immediately. That's impatience. That's short-sightedness. That's weakness disguised as frustration. Grind quietly. Grind daily. Grind relentlessly. The moment you embrace this, You shift from reaction to action, from frustration to control, from chaos to discipline. That is the key. You have a choice. You can perform for recognition, or you can perform for results. You don't need their permission. You don't need their applause. You only need your discipline. You only need your focus. You only need your relentless commitment. Grind when no one is watching. Grind when the results are delayed. Grind when it seems pointless. That is the path of invisible strength. That is the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. Here's another truth. People will judge. People will doubt. People will criticize. Ignore them. They don't matter. Your grind is sacred. Your effort is yours. Your results will eventually speak. That's the law. That's the principle. That's the key. Repeat, grind quietly, grind daily, grind relentlessly. Repeat it every morning. Repeat it every evening. Repeat it whenever doubt appears. Repeat it until action becomes habit. Repeat it until results become inevitable. That's the key. It's not about perfection. It's not about immediate recognition. It's about persistence. It's about consistency. It's about embracing the grind that no one sees, knowing that one day the results will become undeniable. That's invisible power. That's quiet strength. That's unstoppable momentum. That's the key. Concluding thought. You've learned that the grind is invisible. You've seen how results are delayed but inevitable. You've practiced committing to effort without recognition, without applause, without validation. You mastered the principle of persistent, invisible effort. Now it's time to learn the next lesson, outlasting others without needing to outshine them. Patience, endurance, and quiet dominance.
Chapter 6. Outlast, don't outshine. Everyone wants to shine. Everyone wants to be the star. Everyone wants to be noticed. That's the trap. That's the flaw. Trying to outshine others is a distraction. It leads to burnout. It wastes energy. It steals focus from what really matters. That's the key. You have a choice. You can chase brilliance, or you can build endurance. You don't need their permission. You don't need applause. You don't need validation. You need persistence. You need resilience. You need to outlast. Endurance beats brilliance. Endurance beats brilliance. Endurance beats brilliance. Repeat it. Say it aloud. Let it guide your actions. That is the difference between fleeting success and unstoppable dominance. Consider marathon runners. They don't win by sprinting at the start. They don't win by showing off their speed in the first mile. They win by pacing themselves. They endure, step by step, mile by mile, hour by hour. They conserve energy. They push through pain. They outlast everyone else. By the finish line, they are the only ones standing. That's the principle. That's the key. You have a choice. Will you burn out chasing brilliance, or will you endure and dominate quietly? Business founders understand this instinctively. Startups fail because founders chase recognition. They try to be flashy. They try to impress investors, clients, and competitors. And when things get hard, they quit. They run out of energy. They run out of patience. But the founders who endure, who persist when no one believes, who keep moving when competitors drop out, they win. They dominate. They outlast. That's the principle. That's the discipline. That's the key. You have a choice. Outshining is temporary. Outlasting is permanent. Outshining is noise. Outlasting is results. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval. You only need persistence. You only need consistency. You only need to endure when it's difficult, when it's lonely, when it seems pointless. That is the path of true power. Repeat, endurance beats brilliance. Endurance beats brilliance. Let's talk about your daily life. How often do you chase quick wins? How often do you try to impress someone? How often do you act to be seen rather than to progress? That is distraction. That is weakness disguised as ambition. You have a choice. Focus on longevity. Focus on incremental progress. Focus on consistent effort. Outlast your competitors. Outlast your doubts. Outlast your excuses. That is discipline. That is strategy. That is strength. Here's a practical method. Identify one area where you've been inconsistent: fitness, career, skill, productivity. Now commit to showing up every day no matter what. Some days you will perform at 100%, some days at 50%, some days barely at all. It doesn't matter. The key is endurance. The key is repetition. The key is showing up when others quit. Outlasting is more important than brilliance. Outlasting is more important than flashes of talent. Outlasting wins. Repeat, endurance beats brilliance. Endurance beats brilliance.
Consider athletes like long-distance swimmers or Ironman competitors. They don't win because they are the fastest. They win because they endure. They continue when others falter. They adapt. They persist. That principle applies to life, business, and personal growth. Brilliance fades. Endurance dominates. That is the key. You have a choice. Will you chase recognition, or will you build endurance that outlasts everyone else? Another example, investors. Many chase hot stocks, quick wins, viral trends. They seek brilliance. They burn out. They lose. But the patient investor, the disciplined investor, outlasts. They wait. They compound. They persist. They endure the volatility. They don't react to noise. By the end, they dominate markets quietly. Outlasting always beats brilliance. Repeat, endurance beats brilliance. Endurance beats brilliance. Here's the behavioral exercise to build endurance in your life. Choose one long-term goal. Commit to taking action every single day toward it. Ignore applause, ignore recognition, ignore competition. Keep moving, adjust, persist, endure. At the end of 30 days, 90 days, a year, observe the results. The outlasted competitor is the winner. That's the principle. That's the key. You have a choice. Endure quietly. Endure consistently. Endure relentlessly. Let's clarify. This is not about mediocrity. This is not about hiding your abilities. This is about discipline, patience, and strategic effort. It's about conserving energy for the long fight. It's about investing in yourself quietly. It's about being the one who survives while others burn out. Outlasting is power. Outlasting is control. Outlasting is unstoppable strength. You have a choice. Choose endurance. Choose persistence. Choose dominance. Repeat, endurance beats brilliance. Endurance beats brilliance. Many people quit when challenges arise. Many people seek recognition to validate effort. Many people chase brilliance and burn out. Don't be them. Build endurance. Focus on sustainable progress. Protect your energy. Ignore noise. Outlast challenges. Outlast critics. Outlast your own doubts. That is strength. That is discipline. That is unstoppable momentum. That is the key. Now, integrate this into your life. Set your long-term goal. Break it into consistent daily actions. Track progress privately. Show up every day, even when unmotivated. Ignore applause. Ignore instant recognition. Endure, persist, adapt, repeat. Remember the mantra, endurance beats brilliance. Endurance beats brilliance. Repeat it daily. Repeat it in moments of doubt. Repeat it whenever you feel like quitting. Let it guide every choice, every step, every action. Outlasting is more important than outshining. Outlasting wins. That's the key. You have a choice. Endure quietly. Concluding thought. You've learned that brilliance alone is fleeting. You've seen that endurance is permanent. You've practiced outlasting competitors, critics, and your own doubts. You've committed to showing up every day, quietly, consistently, and relentlessly. Now it's time to focus on mastery of habits and repetition, the rituals that solidify unstoppable strength.
Chapter 7. The Power of Repetition and Ritual. You want strength. You want discipline. You want unstoppable momentum. That's good. But there's one truth most people ignore. Strength is not built in bursts. It is built in repetition. It is built in ritual. That's the key. You have a choice. You can rely on random effort, occasional inspiration, or bursts of motivation. Or you can harness the power of repetition and ritual to create unbreakable strength. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval. You don't need recognition. You only need discipline. You only need consistency. You only need to show up. Repetition builds strength. Rituals build invincibility. Repetition builds strength. Rituals take repetition a step further. Rituals create structure. Rituals make discipline automatic. Morning routines, daily journaling, deliberate practice sessions, meditation, exercise, reading. Rituals remove decision fatigue. They automate excellence. They ensure that action happens every day without relying on motivation. That's the key. You have a choice. You can wait for motivation, or you can rely on ritual to make results inevitable. You don't need their permission. You only need structure. You only need commitment. You only need to show up. Look at successful people. Tim Ferriss wakes early, journals, and exercises. Navy SEALs follow rigorous daily routines. Olympic athletes practice every day, rain or shine, tired or energized. These are not accidents. These are rituals. They create invincibility. They make excellence inevitable. That's the principle. That's the key. You have a choice. Ignore rituals and remain at the mercy of chance and emotion, or embrace ritual and repetition to create unbreakable strength. The choice is yours. Discipline is a habit, not an event. Repetition ingrains it. Ritual solidifies it. That's the key. Now let's make this practical. Identify one area of your life you want to dominate. Skill, fitness, productivity, or mindset. Break it into actions that can be repeated daily. Write them down. Commit to doing them at the same time every day for 30 days. Morning, evening, whatever works. No excuses, no exceptions. This is ritual. This is structure. This is invisible power. Repeat. Repetition builds strength. Rituals build invincibility. Repetition builds strength.
Consider journaling. Writing daily may seem insignificant. One page a day does not feel transformative, but repetition compounds. One page becomes insights. Insights become strategy. Strategy becomes action. Action becomes results. Ritual transforms repetition into unstoppable growth. That's the key. You have a choice. Athletes drill the same move thousands of times. Entrepreneurs make the same type of call repeatedly. Writers write daily, rain or shine. Musicians practice scales, drills, songs again and again. Repetition ingrains the work into their being. Ritual ensures it happens daily. Discipline becomes automatic. Mastery becomes inevitable. That's the key. You have a choice. Here's another truth. Repetition strengthens the mind. Mental resilience is built in quiet, repeated action. Every time you show up when it's uncomfortable, every time you repeat a task when you don't feel like it, you train your brain to endure. You become unshakable. You become consistent. You become unstoppable. Ritual compounds this effect. It removes hesitation. It removes doubt. It removes distraction. That's invisible strength. That's quiet power. Repeat. Repetition builds strength. Rituals build invincibility. Repetition builds strength. Repeat it constantly. Embed it in every action. Remember this. Habits are invisible. Results are visible. Ritual makes habits automatic. Repetition ingrains the behavior. Together, they create power that cannot be denied. You have a choice. You can remain reactive, waiting for motivation and inspiration, or you can be proactive, using repetition and ritual to guarantee progress every single day. That is invisible advantage. That is quiet strength. That is unstoppable momentum. Repeat.
Repetition builds strength. Rituals build invincibility. Repetition builds strength. Concluding thought. You've learned that mastery is built on repetition. You've seen that rituals solidify habit into unbreakable strength. You've practiced showing up daily, consistently, deliberately. You've embraced the invisible work that transforms skill into mastery. Now you are ready to take focus and discipline further, learning how to silence distractions, remove noise, and harness mental clarity for maximum impact. Consider journaling. Writing daily may seem insignificant. 1 page a day does not feel transformative, but repetition compounds. 1 page becomes insights. Insights become strategy. Strategy becomes action. Action becomes results. Ritual transforms repetition into unstoppable growth. That's the key. You have a choice. Athletes drill the same move thousands of times. Entrepreneurs make the same type of call repeatedly. Writers write daily, rain or shine. Musicians practice scales, drills, songs again and again. Repetition ingrains the work into their being. Ritual ensures it happens daily. Discipline becomes automatic. Mastery becomes inevitable. That's the key. You have a choice. Here's another truth. Repetition strengthens the mind. Mental resilience is built in quiet, repeated action. Every time you show up when it's uncomfortable, every time you repeat a task when you don't feel like it, you train your brain to endure. You become unshakable. You become consistent. You become unstoppable. Ritual compounds this effect. It removes hesitation. It removes doubt. It removes distraction. That's invisible strength. That's quiet power. Repeat. Repetition builds strength. Rituals build invincibility. Repetition builds strength. Repeat it constantly. Embed it in every action. Remember this. Habits are invisible. Results are visible. Ritual makes habits automatic. Repetition ingrains the behavior. Together, they create power that cannot be denied. You have a choice. You can remain reactive, waiting for motivation and inspiration, or you can be proactive, using repetition and ritual to guarantee progress every single day. That is invisible advantage. That is quiet strength. That is unstoppable momentum. Repeat. Repetition builds strength. Rituals build invincibility. Repetition builds strength. Concluding thought. You've learned that mastery is built on repetition. You've seen that rituals solidify habit into unbreakable strength. You've practiced showing up daily, consistently, deliberately. You've embraced the invisible work that transforms skill into mastery. Now you are ready to take focus and discipline further, learning how to silence distractions, remove noise, and harness mental clarity for maximum impact.
Chapter 8. Master your attention. Master your life. Your attention is your most valuable asset. Every thought you entertain, every distraction you follow, every moment you allow your focus to wander, you are spending energy. That's the key. You have a choice. You can scatter your attention like confetti, or you can control it like currency. You don't need their permission. You don't need validation. You don't need applause. What you need is control. You need focus. You need discipline. You need to master your attention, because where attention flows, energy grows. Repeat. Focus defines destiny. Focus defines destiny. Focus defines destiny. Look around you. Every notification, every message, every social media scroll, every gossip, every piece of trivial content, it steals your attention. It drains your energy. It fragments your mind. That's the flaw. That's distraction disguised as necessity. And you have a choice. You can surrender to it, or you can reclaim your attention. You don't need their permission. You don't need to respond instantly. You don't need to be available 24/7. You only need to master your focus. That's the key. Elite performers understand this better than anyone.
Athletes, entrepreneurs, writers, and investors schedule their attention like currency. They protect it fiercely. They allocate it deliberately. Distractions are forbidden. Meetings are minimized. Social media is controlled. Notifications are silenced. They know attention is energy. Energy produces results. Results produce dominance. Repeat. Focus defines destiny. Focus defines destiny. Focus defines destiny. You have a choice. You can allow your attention to be stolen, or you can guard it fiercely. You can scatter your energy across 1,000 tasks, or you can concentrate it on the tasks that matter most. You don't need approval. You don't need recognition. You only need discipline. That's the key. Let's break this down into practical steps. Step 1. Audit your attention. Track where your focus goes each day. How much time do you spend on distractions? How much energy is wasted on trivial tasks? Identify the leaks. Once you see them, you can fix them. That is discipline. That is control. That is power. Step 2. Schedule your attention like currency. Block time for deep work. Block time for learning. Block time for creation. Protect these blocks fiercely. Treat them as sacred. No interruptions, no multitasking, no excuses. That's how results are produced. That's how energy is multiplied. Repeat. Focus defines destiny. Focus defines destiny. Focus defines destiny. Step 3. Remove distractions. Phones on silent, social media limited, unnecessary meetings declined, emails checked selectively, environment optimized. The less noise, the more clarity. The more clarity, the more energy. The more energy, the more results. You have a choice. You can live reactive, scattered, and distracted, or you can live deliberate, controlled, and dominant. That's the key. Consider the example of elite athletes. Serena Williams, LeBron James, and Novak Djokovic don't allow irrelevant distractions to invade their training or competition. They control their environment. They control their attention. They focus on what matters most. That control translates into championships, titles, and unmatched results. You have a choice. Will you let your attention wander, or will you guard it like a weapon? You don't need their permission. You only need discipline. Entrepreneurs follow the same principle. Jeff Bezos focused Amazon's energy on customer obsession. Warren Buffett spends hours reading daily, protecting his mind from noise. Elon Musk blocks his time in strict intervals, dedicating focus to the most critical problems. Every one of them understands that attention is energy. Energy drives results. Results determine destiny. Repeat, focus defines destiny. Focus defines destiny. Focus defines destiny. Now, let's bring this to your daily life. Start by identifying your attention drains. These are the things that steal your focus without producing results. Social media scrolling, unnecessary meetings, gossip, news that doesn't empower you, notifications, habitual checking of emails. Remove them, silence them, limit them. Guard your attention. That is discipline. That is control. That is power. That is the key. Next, identify your attention investments. These are the tasks, practices, or activities that produce exponential results. Writing, learning, creating, practicing your skill, networking with the right people, deep work sessions. Every time you invest your attention here, energy grows, progress accelerates, momentum builds. That is invisible power. That is quiet dominance. That is unstoppable momentum. That's the key. You have a choice. You can remain reactive, overwhelmed, and scattered, or you can command your mind, direct your attention, and protect your energy. You don't need validation. You don't need recognition. You don't need approval. You only need discipline. You only need to control your focus. That's the key. Here's a behavioral exercise. Schedule a single 60-minute block of uninterrupted focus today. No phone, no notifications, no distractions. Only one task that produces real results. Commit fully. After 60 minutes, reflect. Notice the energy, clarity, and progress. Then repeat tomorrow, then the day after. Build consistency, build control, build discipline. Repeat, focus defines destiny. Focus defines destiny. Focus defines destiny. Mental toughness is built here. Resistance to distraction is built here. Results are built here. And here's the secret. Most people never experience this. They drift, scatter, and react. They are controlled by external forces. But when you master your attention, you master your life. That is invisible strength. That is quiet dominance. That is unstoppable momentum. That's the key. You have a choice. You can remain reactive, overwhelmed, and scattered, or you can take control, protect your attention, and focus relentlessly on what matters. That choice will determine your results. That choice will determine your energy. That choice will determine your destiny. Repeat, focus defines destiny. Focus defines destiny. Focus defines destiny. Consider long-term mastery. Over weeks, months, and years, attention compounds. One focused hour per day produces exponential results. One disciplined week multiplies impact. One concentrated month changes your trajectory. This is the power of mastering attention. It is invisible, quiet, and undeniable. That is the key. You have a choice. Use it wisely. Guard it fiercely. Control it relentlessly. You don't need their permission. You only need discipline. Concluding thought. You've learned that attention is energy, and energy produces results. You've seen how distractions steal power, and focus creates dominance. You've practiced controlling your mind, your environment, and your schedule. Now it's time to take the next step, building resilience in your decisions and persistence in action so that your mastery of attention converts into unstoppable results.
Chapter 9. Emotions are fuel, not control. Emotions are powerful. They are intense. They are immediate. They are unavoidable. But here is the truth most people fail to understand. Emotions are not your master. You have a choice. You can let them control you, or you can harness them as fuel. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval. You don't need to react. You only need discipline. Repeat. Emotion is fuel. Discipline is control. Emotion is fuel. Discipline is control. Most people surrender to emotion. Anger, fear, frustration, anxiety. They allow these states to dictate decisions. They speak without thinking. They act without strategy. They react without control. That is weakness. That is chaos. That is failure disguised as passion. You have a choice. You can be reactive or you can be deliberate. You can be a slave to emotion or you can be its master. That's the key. Consider leaders in crises. In emergencies, when panic spreads, the strongest leaders remain calm. They assess, they strategize, they execute. Winston Churchill during World War II, Angela Merkel during global crises, Satya Nadella steering Microsoft through massive transformation. Calmness under pressure does not mean absence of emotion. It means control. It means channeling the intensity without surrendering to it. That is power. That is discipline. Repeat, emotion is fuel. Discipline is control. Emotion is fuel. Discipline is control. You have a choice. Will you react impulsively when angry? Will you give in to fear when the stakes are high? Will you let frustration cloud judgment? Or will you harness emotion as energy to propel action while keeping control intact? You don't need their permission. You only need mastery. You only need focus. You only need deliberate practice of self-control. That's the key. Let's break this down practically. Step 1. Recognize your emotions. Awareness is the first step. Name the feeling: anger, fear, excitement, frustration, pride, anxiety.
Recognition is not weakness, it is power. It is the beginning of control. Once you name it, you can channel it. Once you acknowledge it, you can decide how to act. Repeat, emotion is fuel, discipline is control. Emotion is fuel, discipline is control. Step 2. Separate impulse from action. Most people conflate emotion with immediate response. They think feeling angry means they must yell. Feeling scared means they must freeze. Feeling frustrated means they must quit. That is the flaw. The truth is simple. Emotion does not dictate action. Discipline dictates action. Training dictates action. Strategy dictates action. You have a choice. You can be impulsive or you can be intentional. You don't need approval. You don't need external validation. You only need control. That's the key. Step 3. Channel emotion into productive energy. Anger can be focus. Frustration can be motivation. Fear can sharpen awareness. Excitement can accelerate action. Every emotion carries energy, but energy without direction is chaos. Energy with discipline becomes unstoppable force. That is invisible strength. That is quiet dominance. Repeat, emotion is fuel. Discipline is control. Emotion is fuel. Discipline is control. Consider elite athletes. Michael Jordan, facing pressure in critical games, did not panic. He felt intensity, he felt the weight of expectation, but he converted that energy into focus, precision, and execution. Serena Williams, on the brink of defeat, channels frustration into power, not reaction. LeBron James, under global scrutiny, harnesses emotion to fuel performance without losing control. That is mastery. That is deliberate. That is discipline. You have a choice. Harness, don't surrender. Control, don't react. Repeat, emotion is fuel. Discipline is control.
Leaders in business understand this too. Satya Nadella did not let fear or doubt dominate during Microsoft's transformation. Elon Musk navigates criticism and setbacks by controlling emotional reaction, converting intensity into relentless action. Tim Cook makes decisions under pressure, balancing the stakes with calm, strategic focus. Emotion is energy. Discipline is control. They are separate. You have a choice. You can be driven by emotion or by strategy. You don't need their permission. You only need mastery. That's the key. Behavioral exercise. When you feel a strong emotion today, pause. Take 3 deep breaths. Name the feeling. Ask, how can I channel this into productive action? Then act deliberately. Do not react impulsively. Track these moments. Over time, you will learn to convert emotional intensity into results, not chaos. That is invisible power. That is quiet strength. Repeat, emotion is fuel. Discipline is control. Here's another principle. Emotional awareness compounds. Every time you successfully manage a moment of intensity, your mind becomes stronger. Your self-control becomes automatic. Your discipline becomes habitual. Your results compound. This is the invisible advantage most people never develop because they surrender to every wave of feeling. You have a choice. End the cycle of surrender. Begin the cycle of mastery. That is the key. Emotions are like fire. Fire can warm or it can burn. You have the choice of mastery. You have the choice of control. You can direct the energy to power your actions, or you can let it consume you. You don't need validation. You don't need permission. You only need skillful handling. You only need discipline. You only need to practice deliberate control. That's the key. Repeat, emotion is fuel. Discipline is control. Consider personal relationships. Most conflicts escalate because emotion is allowed to dominate. Anger explodes. Fear withdraws. Frustration escalates. But those who master emotional energy respond with calm. They assert boundaries. They communicate clearly. They leverage energy for results, not reaction. Emotional control is power. Emotional control is freedom. Emotional control is the cornerstone of resilience.
Repeat, emotion is fuel, discipline is control. You have a choice. Will emotion dictate your decisions, or will discipline guide them? Will intensity overwhelm your strategy, or will you channel it to accelerate results? Will fear stop you, or will control push you forward? Every high-pressure moment is a test. Every challenge is an opportunity. Mastering emotion is mastery of self. That's the key. Long-term transformation comes from practice, daily reflection, daily assessment, daily application. When frustration arises, channel it. When excitement erupts, direct it. When fear threatens, use it as energy. Over weeks, months, and years, mastery of emotional energy compounds, results multiply, opportunities expand, dominance becomes inevitable. Repeat, emotion is fuel, discipline is control. Emotion is fuel, discipline is control. Concluding thought, you've learned that emotion is energy, not command. You've seen how leaders, athletes, and creators harness emotional intensity without surrendering. You've practiced recognizing, separating, and channeling emotion into deliberate action. Now you are ready to take your discipline to the final level, synthesizing focus, persistence, and controlled energy into unstoppable personal power.
Chapter 10. The quiet strength wins every time. Most people chase attention. Most people crave recognition. Most people measure success by applause, likes, or visible approval. That's the flaw. That's the trap. That's temporary. The truth you must accept: loud effort is rarely dominant. Flashy displays often fade. True power is quiet. True strength is consistent. True victories are invisible until they overwhelm the competition. That's the key. You have a choice. You don't need their permission. You don't need applause. You only need consistency. You only need discipline. You only need quiet strength. Repeat. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable. Quiet strength is invisible to the untrained eye. It is built in repetition. It is fortified in ritual. It is reinforced through persistence. While others chase short-term validation, you build long-term dominance. Your actions compound. Your skills multiply. Your results accumulate silently. That is unstoppable. That is power. That is the truth. You have a choice. You can chase applause, or you can outlast quietly. That is the key. The principle is simple. Action beats intent. Consistency beats talent when talent is sporadic. Patience beats urgency when urgency is frantic. Loud effort is temporary. Quiet effort is permanent. That is invisible advantage. That is the edge most people never develop. That's why the majority never reach their potential. That's why the few who commit to quiet, relentless discipline dominate life. Repeat. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable. Let's apply this practically. First, remove the need for external validation. Stop posting every effort. Stop announcing every attempt. Stop asking for recognition. Focus on results, not applause. Every time you perform without needing acknowledgement, you strengthen discipline. You reinforce self-reliance. You become unstoppable. You have a choice. Repeat. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable. Second, commit to relentless consistency. Choose one area of life: health, skill, career, wealth. Show up daily, even when unmotivated, even when progress seems invisible. Every day compounds into mastery. Every repetition adds invisible strength. Every small step quietly taken multiplies into dominance. That is the key. You don't need their permission. You only need persistence. You only need discipline. Repeat. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable. Third, embrace patience. Understand that results rarely appear overnight.
The investor who waits, the athlete who trains daily, the entrepreneur who builds quietly, these are the victors. They accept the grind. They trust the process. They ignore noise. They do not flinch when others demand instant gratification. Quiet endurance outperforms flashy effort every time. That is the principle. That is power. That is the key. Repeat. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable. Consider innovators. Thomas Edison tested thousands of filament materials before succeeding. Nikola Tesla worked decades on inventions that were ahead of their time. Steve Jobs iterated product designs relentlessly, often in silence, away from public scrutiny. Quiet dedication creates breakthroughs. Silent effort produces results loud enough to change industries. That is invisible mastery. That is unstoppable strength. Repeat. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable. Here's another truth. Quiet strength attracts momentum. When you act consistently without distraction, without external validation, your internal focus compounds. Opportunities appear. Skills improve. Relationships strengthen. Progress accelerates. You don't notice the growth daily, but over months and years, the results are undeniable. The silent, patient, consistent action wins every time. That's the key. You have a choice. Repeat. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable. Practical exercise. Identify one long-term goal. Ignore outside opinions. Ignore competition. Ignore applause. Break it into daily actions. Execute every day without announcing progress. Track it privately. Evaluate results monthly. Watch invisible strength compound into visible dominance. Repeat daily, repeat weekly, repeat relentlessly. That is mastery. That is unstoppable action. That is quiet strength. Repeat. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable. Another principle. Avoid unnecessary noise. Social media, gossip, shallow competition, instant gratification, they are distractions. They steal energy. They fragment focus. They dilute effort. Quiet strength requires protection. Guard your mind. Guard your attention. Guard your energy. Protect it like a fortress. Invisible preparation produces visible victories. Repeat. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable. Remember, results are cumulative. Every small, quiet effort builds invisible advantage. Every day you show up strengthens skill, discipline, and mental toughness. Every repeated action compounds into mastery. Every patient step edges you closer to domination. Those who quit for noise, applause, or immediate validation fall behind. Those who endure quietly rise to unmatched heights. That's the key. You have a choice. Repeat. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable. Quiet strength also breeds confidence. Confidence does not come from recognition. It comes from repeated success over time. Confidence comes from knowing you did the work even when unseen. Confidence comes from trusting the process. Confidence comes from discipline. That inner conviction allows you to navigate setbacks calmly. It allows you to execute relentlessly. It allows you to dominate without spectacle. Repeat. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable. Concluding thought. You've seen that true power is invisible. You've seen that consistent effort outperforms loud gestures. You've seen that patience multiplies results and that action taken without validation creates unstoppable momentum. Quiet strength, combined with discipline, repetition, and focus, breaks limits. It dominates industries. It wins championships. It transforms lives. You have a choice. Start today. Choose silence. Choose patience. Choose unstoppable action. Your future is in your hands. Repeat. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable. This is your moment. Stop proving. Start doing. Stop seeking applause. Start dominating. Stop reacting to noise. Start building quiet power. The world will notice your results, but only after you've mastered the invisible work. That is the final truth. That is the ultimate principle. That is quiet strength. That is unstoppable dominance. Repeat one last time. Silence is strength. Patience is power. Action is unstoppable.
Book summary. You've heard it. Talent alone is wasted. Noise alone is empty. Validation is poison. What remains, what endures, what dominates quietly is you. Your daily wins, your silent discipline, your relentless attention and mental toughness, these are unstoppable. Build your fortress, grind daily, protect your focus, channel your emotions, repeat relentlessly. Endure where others quit. And now it's your turn. The world is loud, impatient, and chaotic. Rise above it quietly. Start today. Start now. Show your strength silently. Take control and never let go. Will you let limits define you, or will you break them with quiet strength? The choice is yours. Start.